Welcome to the fourth week of Red Dress Special, a Native American Heritage Month Virtual Speaker Series. My name is Miriam Mosqueda. I am here as a guest on occupied Muwekma Ohlone land in San Jose, California. I work at the Indian Health Center of Santa Clara Valley as the job developer and coordinator of the Instilling Wellness Through Workforce Development program within our counseling prevention services at our Family Resource Center. For Native American Heritage Month, we are highlighting Native women and femmes in our community with weekly conversation-style panels every Monday in November from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And Red Dress Special is in honor of missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit loved ones to raise awareness about the disproportionate numbers of the disappearances and the lives taken that have gone unreported or underreported. So in honor of them, we'll be sharing a song and dance offered by our community members to open this up. So that was Tiny Rosales with her daughter Lucky Rosales offering a dance for us. They both are valued members of our community, and if anyone here follows Quarantine Dance Specials Facebook page, Tiny, along with a few other folks, are admins for that page that sprung up during this time of COVID. So she recently also helped to put together a social distance powwow that some of our community members were a part of. And the IHC team was also a part of that. So thank you so much to Tiny for keeping the people dancing. So before we get into a conversation, a reminder for our community, please use the chat feature to send in your thoughts, your affirmations, and for questions, you can feel free to use either the chat feature or the Q&A feature that's also at the bottom of your screens. I will be monitoring both throughout the course of our conversation, so feel free to plug in your thoughts in there, and yeah, we'll be having a Q&A portion towards the end of our conversation. So we'll be checking in with those as well. So this week, our conversation will be highlighting Native creatives, and I'm so excited to be sharing space with Calina Lawrence and Whitney Lewis to talk about how they merge culture and creativity in their respective arts. So a little about them. From the Suquamish Nation, Calina Lawrence is an Indigenous vocalist, aspiring MC, and music producer. Her debut album, Epicenter, it was self-released in August 2018 while depicting intergenerational trauma. In her hip-hop, Salish fusion works, she equally draws from examples of her people's resiliency. Lawrence co-wrote and self-produced the single "The Shoot Seed is Alive," representative of how the young artist is using music in pursuit of liberation. And Whitney Lewis is a member of the Chehalis tribe located in Washington State. She is a mother, partner, and the artist behind Wit's Wicked Creations, an Indigenous woman-owned business where she sells crafted beadwork jewelry, cedar bark woven basketry, and more. Her goal as an artist is to put so much love and healing prayer into her work that it heals whomever her work comes in contact with. So welcome, both of you. I'm so honored to be sharing space with you both. Yeah, I'm so excited for this conversation as well. And I know I just read your bios, but in your own words, could you please introduce yourselves to us? And maybe we can start with Calina, and then we'll go ahead with Whitney.
Huagualapu Asquadida Chad Huagualapu Chalup Calina Lawrence Seeds Sok Obj Chud Calina Lawrence Seeds Sok Obj Chud Tol Al Chadu Sakwab Hatli Slachel C Abdi Ishad Asquadida Chud. To all of you, I am grateful to each and every one of you. My name is Calina Lawrence. I am Suquamish. I come from the place of the clear salt water. Today is a really great day. I'm very grateful to be here, very grateful to Miriam, to Whitney, to everyone who is joining us this evening. Aslaslil Chad Alta Yalamu. I currently live in the ancestral village of Yalamu as a guest in the territory of the Ramaytush Ohlone people. And I come from the Twoshootseed language, the Twoshootseed speaking peoples, predominantly Southern Lushootseed speaking peoples. And I'm just very honored and grateful to be here tonight. So thank you again, and I'll pass it on over to Whitney.
Hi guys, I'm Whitney Lewis. I'm a member of the Chehalis tribe. I live in Olympia, Washington, and I'm very new to speaking on Zoom altogether. Very new to it, so I might be a little awkward on this in this session. So I am an artist. I love to bead and craft pretty much everything. I come from a family of artists, and that's just kind of what I grew up with. It's pretty much all I know. So that's me.
Thank you both so much. So you both kind of shared a little bit already about your art forms, and Whitney, I kind of wanted to maybe start with you. I know you said that you came from, you come from a family of artists. So how did you kind of begin your journey into beading, and are there anything in relation to your family that brought you to that form of art?
With beadwork, I was introduced to beads by my aunt Gail White Eagle. My aunt Gail White Eagle, and she always had them out whenever I would visit her house, and she helped me make necklaces. I made my first dentillium necklace with her, dentillium pair of earrings with her, and we were always just mesmerized by the jewelry. It's so shiny. This is kind of how we were, and I always wanted to make it. I always wanted to figure out how to put that together, and to make such a beautiful piece of art and jewelry that a lot of women and even men wear. Another big person in my life that actually taught me how to peyote stitch, her name was Barbara Wells, and she was my like step grandma. She was one of the most amazing beaders. She did a lot of medallions and stuff in my community for like the Miss Chehalis, like princesses, and she actually had me sit down with her at the table and taught me how to peyote stitch, and was where I really wanted to learn how to make medallions and bead with seed beads with needle and thread. But yeah, I come from a family of artists, and like it's literally all I know. I was encouraged to draw at a young age by my dad and weave from not just my family but also the community. The Chehalis are basket makers, so it's like I was like put into it, like put into that type of community. So I've always been interested in like wanted to learn.
Calina, so for you, you know, as a musician, as a singer, how did you kind of begin your journey into that as well?
Yeah, I think is very similar. It's just like part of it is kind of that natural curiosity, and then the other part of it is just that when we're surrounded by folks who are engaging in those art forms, you know, we're like we gravitate toward that, right? Like we watch it happening, and then um, and we want to learn. And I think for me, there was this story that my dad used to tell me that I used to stand on the couch and just sing to the living room. Like he said, I was probably like 2 or 3 years old, and he's like, you used to just sing really loud. He's like, there were no words coming out. Like you couldn't speak yet, like in sentences or English or any language. You just like stand on the couch and just sing. And I don't remember this at all, but it's one of his favorite stories to tell me because, you know, unfortunately, I was taken from my parents not too long after that memory. I was 3 years old when I was removed from the care of my biological parents, and I was placed in foster care under the Indian Child Welfare Act. And it really from there was just kind of um, um, like a coping mechanism of mine to observe people around me, because that's how I learned the surroundings and the environment I was in, was to watch people's behaviors, you know, as part of a survival mechanism. And so I lived in a lot of different foster homes, but one common thing was that there was some sort of singer or artist in pretty much every foster home I lived in. And so it was very similar in that there were predominantly women who were singers around me. And when I would hear like the sounds, you know, coming out of their voices, their bodies, I was always just like, I gravitated toward that. And so my dad will say, you know, I started before I could even talk. And then I would say, you know, I used to listen to my aunties and uncles and my cousins and my brothers sing and rap and, you know, participate in all kinds of genres of music. And I think I was probably 7 years old when I was really like, okay, like I love how I feel when I sing. I could tell that it was something in my body that I love to do, because it was like a way for me to express like my emotions, you know, from like the very traumatic childhood that I had. It was like, okay, I really love singing because I love how I feel. I love the way I can look, like I learn how to sing, and the way that the adults in my life would take time to teach me. So when I was about 7, I started going on tribal canoe journeys and learning Coast Salish music was like, that was for me like where I felt the most empowered as a young person, to learn songs quickly and also just to be able to sing them with a whole group of people. It made me feel really good. At the same time, I was learning bluegrass songs from my foster parents, Lynn Ferguson and Roger Ferguson. They were pretty dope bluegrass and country musicians, and so they would teach me, songs, contemporary songs, and so it just kind of all started to come naturally, in that, whoever I was in proximity to, I would watch what they did, right? And that was create or sing or some sort of art form. And I always wanted to be like, I want to do that, or I want to learn how to do that, show me how. And that's pretty much how it came, similar to Whitney, just watching folks do it.
I was wondering, you had mentioned, Calina, that, that through these different challenges in your life, that music was present, there, as a separate form of support too, and so interconnected into all of these spaces. So, how do you each of you use, your art forms to move through challenges in life? I know, Whitney, you also said in the bio that that you want to put as much like healing prayer into your beadwork as well. So how does that how does this art support you both through those challenges, or through praying through those challenges and all of that, singing through those challenges? Yeah, how does that relate to that?
For me, it's kind of inevitable. Like, it's just like ingrained in reaction. Like, what I've learned is that so much about ourselves as human beings is like we are navigating through life, reacting to situations, reacting to experiences that we go through, or experiences that we watch happen. And we also, in a lot of Indigenous communities, recognize the trauma that is passed on from generations. And because of that, we've seen all types of ways to cope with trauma and grief. We have seen every way under the sun for our people to survive these very strategic attacks on our identity, on our families, on our cultures, on our spirits. And we come to learn, whether or not we are trying to avoid feeling that or embrace feeling that. And there are different ways to go about, whichever a certain person ends up utilizing. And for me, it's just like finding a sense of autonomy, I guess you could say. When we go through things that are out of our control, we and I find ways to reclaim my feelings and reclaim my reactions. And music has just been that. Like, it just makes me feel better, and on a personal level, and then also as a community, we've always used song and art in every occasion, whether that's celebratory or whether that's doing important spiritual work around grief and trauma. And I'm sure that there's I know that there's science to it, about the vibrations that we subject ourselves to that impact our mood. But I also know that we just feel better when we have it, when we have access to music and songs. And I think another way that it relates personally is that being a foster youth created so much instability and uncertainty that music was so constant and it was always at my fingertips, and it was no one dictated my access to music but me. Like no one could tell me not to sing, right? They could tell me where I'm going to bed tonight or who I'm going to live with tomorrow, you know, but no one could tell me like, you can't sing. And as a young child, I was like, okay, this is something that's mine that nobody can take. And I had no clue I'd even become a musician. I just loved singing, and that's just what got me through. Everything still does. So
Thank you. What about you, Whitney? How is, beating supported you through, these like different challenges in life, or I've also heard a lot of folks say that even when they're beading or making ribbon skirts that it's good to have like good thoughts while those things are happening. So that you put like goodness into that creation. So how has your form of beading and all of that supported you?
Well, yeah, that's the teaching is you're not really supposed to really work on your beadwork or sewing or even weaving while you're in a negative headspace. So a lot of the times when I'm going through something and all I want to do is bead, it kind of teaches me to let go of that thing that's bothering me so I can sit down and focus on my work. And it's such a meditation to me that it's soothing to be able to move my hands and focus on what I'm doing and not think of or worry about what types of challenges that I may be going through. It really does just teach me to let go of wanting to be able to control everything. Everything's being crazy. I've had a crazy day, and all I want to do is go sit down and bead and not worry about it. That's kind of what I use it for as my healing. And a lot of the times I'll sit here and pray for good energy to be put into this, and kind of transmute it into love and positive vibrations. So that is a way for myself to heal. And as that energy flows through my arms to my hands and my fingertips into what I pick up and thread into my work, it gets put into the work and then it's manifested into something totally different. The energy is changed, and that's how I do my healing work. And that's how it helps me get through everything. So I this is just what I love to do. I love to bead. I love to make art because it really helps me almost escape from reality. But yeah.
Even looking at some of your designs, Whitney, they're so beautiful, and I'm kind of wondering, like, how does that begin for you? Like, how does your mind start to like picture these things or put these colors together, and how do you decide to go about that?
A lot of the times I kind of just go with the flow of however the colors are laying down next to each other. Picking colors, I usually pick about, so like what I'm beading around is this center inlay, and I try to get colors to match the inlay the best I can, and some different accent colors, and I just kind of go with it. And a lot of the times they'll come out nowhere near where I pictured. It just kind of happened. A lot of the times that happens. But yeah, I try not to like totally control how it turns out, because that just isn't how life is. You can't control everything. So I kind of just like to let things flow flow. And then a lot of the times I will get stuck, you know, with like what kind of colors I want to do or what design. A lot of the times I'll look at like makeup, like makeup pictures off Instagram, and they'll have some really cool color combos on those, and I'll try to find an inlay that looks close to that or similar to that, and then be inspired by that. But when it comes to design, I just kind of go with the flow, and just play with it. A lot of the times I'll stick to the same like ombre transition, or even change it to black and white, contrasting colors. Yeah.
Thank you. How do you both personally connect culture within your respective spaces? I know, Calina, in your bio, you had shared about the recent song that you had released, "Le Chute is Alive," and how beautiful it was to look at it and see that you had really welcomed your community into that space. So for both of you, how do you each connect culture in music or in beadwork?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. And thank you very much for asking it. Because what's happening, I think, right now is that, many of us Indigenous folks, we know that there are so many cultures, so hundreds of Indigenous cultures here within the colonial US borders. Um, and recognizing, that even the three of us, right? Yes, all three of us are Indigenous, but we all come from different cultures. And that's something that art is really, really good at, or good for, is creating these conversations and this dialogue of what cultural characteristics, I guess you could say, do we choose to put into the work that we create. And for me, being a musician, I tend to think of my culture from a musical standpoint, but then there are also other aesthetics that I can include into the process. And so for this particular song that you're talking about, the main cultural incorporation is the language, right? Is my ancestral language. That's like from the beginning, you can pinpoint like this is how I've tied one cultural element into my music. But then when you take it a few steps further, right, like Coast Salish culture, where I come from, our musics are predominantly vocable and percussive. Our percussion would consist, of shells and any sort of instruments made from trees, from cedar bark. And in recent years, more recent years, with the with different migration of intertribal people to the Northwest, we use drums and hand drums and rattles of different sorts. And so with this song, there's no melodic instruments other than percussion and my vocables, and then call and response, which is like a musical characteristic that exists across a lot of cultures, and also pays tribute the to the musics that were brought from West Africa and all over Africa with the transatlantic slave trade, and how Afro-Indigenous people have become part of our peoples and our communities. And so it, like, we can break down like a lot of ways that we can identify like cultural aesthetics in the music, and even then take it a step further with the music video, right? You can identify our war canoes, our race canoes that the young people and I are traveling by water. you know, we very specifically chose to travel by water in canoes rather than get in a car and drive, you know, to a certain place. Like, these are just different small decisions that we can make and include that kind of represent the very specific place we come from. And for me, I'm always trying to think that extra step, you know, that what can help be representative of the culture that raised me and molded me and guided me and has given me so many tools to get through life, and then also to incorporate in like a contemporary music presentation, I guess, or like performance. So I'm always trying my hardest to just think like, what have I what is ingrained in me from my culture that I can also incorporate into the music I'm making and the direction of that the sound is going. So that's like that's kind of like a more in-depth analysis, I guess, of like, if we actually take time to list out all of the cultural inclusion, it's so much, and it's important now because we're using that to reclaim representation and to represent ourselves, most importantly. So that's, I guess that's, yeah, kind of how I go about it.
How about for you, Whitney? How has it been kind of like personally connecting, you know, culture within your beadwork?
This question was kind of hard for me to kind of really figure out an answer to. But I do like to incorporate a lot of the shells and even cedar bark into my beadwork to kind of mix the media together from my Coast Salish roots into that. Yeah, this is one of the harder questions for me to answer because yeah, my answer was that my art form is my culture. That's just kind of what I look at when I think of culture. Is the thing I think of first is my art, because that's what our people did, was create art, and that's what I'm doing, is trying to preserve it and kind of bring it into the modern day, into like, so from my beadwork, it's to bring these designs and Native American feel into kind of like a fashion sense. It's also a show of wealth, to be able to have beadwork and have these shells and everything. I was taught that you use the higher quality materials in the artwork that you do to show of wealth, to represent your family. This is how you do that. So yeah, that's kind of how I bring beadwork into my culture. I'm still learning a lot. I'm still learning a lot of how I can bring more of my culture into it. Like, I'm interested in learning my language, the Lower Chehalis language, and it's been a lot harder. There's not many people that speak it, and I would like to. I don't know. It's a lot. Like, I don't really know too much about about how I do that. It's kind of confusing to me.
Thank you for sharing that. You had mentioned that, that your culture is your art and, that you're really trying to preserve it. And I was just thinking about, how you had shared with us in your bio that you are a mother. And so how has, being a mother influenced your art and even the importance of continuing, this for your children and like sharing that with them?
I am a mother. My daughter is 4 now, and I beaded in high school and just occasionally, but once I had her for about a year, I was more inspired to sit down and bead more like to give myself a way to feel like a sense of worth as a person and as a mother to be able to provide for my family and kind of show her what hard work it is. And when I started, I didn't really know how to how to run a business or um, even talking to people about selling things was pretty hard to do. Um, but I want to be able to show her that this is in her blood, like the art, the wanting to be an artist is in her blood, and she's already showing so much interest in coloring. Like she colors inside the lines, like that's awesome to me, and knows all the colors and her favorite markers, and she's colored probably filled out about 10 coloring books this month, so she's like really showing interest in it. And every time I pick her up from school, she has a new pony bead necklace, and ever since she was even 2, she's tried to come to my desk and picked up my needle and was putting beads on the needle, like those little tiny seed beads. And she's got those motor skills in there already, and it's just in her blood. And it's not even just from my side either, it's from her father's side. Her father is a master weaver from the Hazel Pete family. And so Tanaya would be a 9th generational weaver, and she's already playing with the cedar, and we've taken her out to gather and everything. So that's probably one of my main motivations, is to be able to teach her like this is what's important, what we're trying to preserve, and it's going to be passed on to her through you. Like this is how it's going to survive. And she loves it already so much. Yeah, I'm one of my sticker packs had a lot to do with us gathering, and there's a sticker of her gathering with my aunt Gail White Eagle, gathering camas. So like we were really trying to make sure that the art is present in her and keep it alive through her. So that's where being a mother and an artist, that's pretty much my goal. Yeah.
I want to add to that too.
Yeah,
the other part that I'm thinking of is Whitney. She hasn't even mentioned that she's an incredible makeup artist. Like she's spent a lot of time teaching herself how to do like top-notch professional makeup, and I've been fortunate enough to hire her to do my makeup for photo shoots and music videos. And the one thing about that is like her baby girl is always with her. Like it doesn't matter where she goes, her daughter is with her, and her daughter is watching, and her daughter is part of the process. And what I mean by that is like I'll literally, Whitney will have most of my face done, and then Tanaya will come up and she'll do my lipstick for me. She'll grab the lipstick and she'll, Auntie, do this, Auntie, do that, And so she's watched, like she watches Whitney's every move, but also Whitney like gives her that space to like try it out and make a mess. And and I think that that's like something that Whitney probably won't say, but not only is she introducing her to these art forms, but she's giving her space to be creative and to like learn in her own way. Like, what does this do? And what is that for? And not a lot of parents that I see have that patience and that level of like trust in their child to be like, be your own artist. I'll give you the tools and the resources, but she doesn't by any means like force her or scold her or yell at her for getting into her makeup. Like, she loves it. She takes pictures and sends them to all of us. Like, look what your niece is doing. And I just,
Oh my God, your niece did.
that's just really something that's very special about the type of mother and artist that Whitney is. So I just wanted to add to that too, because I'm like, wait, she hasn't even mentioned like literally all the art forms that she really immerses her family in, and that's important. So
powerful too, Whitney, to even just share that your will be a 9th generation weaver. Like, that's just so beautiful, and I think just such a beautiful testament to how beautifully that your family has carried that, and the importance of just sharing that with your daughter, and with many generations to come, I'm sure. So that's so beautiful to hear. Thank you for sharing that. You had mentioned too, Whitney, about wanting to learn your language and connecting that, Calina, to the song "The Shoot Seed Is Alive." And has music for you, Calina, encouraged you to maybe like learn more of your language than you already know, or explore additional parts of your culture that maybe you hadn't previously? Has music kind of opened any of that for you?
definitely. And I'll tell you, because this is one way that our people teach us. Through the process of making that song, it took me 3 months to write that song, because I was so I grew up like listening to some Lashutsi, and I took a few years of language class in high school. And then when I moved away to college, I kind of lost like the refresher, like the main elements and words and phrases. And when this song came to me in different stages, I was so like anxious about making sure that it was accurate, that it was, right, I guess, right. I'm saying it right. I'm, doing it right. And right and wrong in our culture is like, it's not really as binary as Western culture. It's kind of like, you're getting better. Like, that's the feedback that we get from our teachers. You're almost there. Like, what does that mean? And so what I realized through this process was like, just really embracing, one, the fact that we still have speakers, also scarce, but we have speakers, we have programs. And then two, that we are reclaiming how and where we use our language and when we use the language. And what I learned in the process of creating that song is that I'm just going to keep learning. Like, there are certain ways that I pronounce certain phrases in that song that I now am like, oh, I should have done that better, because I started taking language class throughout this whole quarantine. We've been able to have language classes online, and I can listen back to that song now and see like how far I've come since then, and what other ways I could have said something, or wrote something or translated something. And that's what's so beautiful about about our culture is that I went back and forth to my teachers, and they were all encouraging, like their feedback was encouraging, but it was also like almost getting closer. Like, so it put a little bit more responsibility on me as the student, you know, to kind of dive deeper into my like how I'm learning and who I'm learning from. And so that, and even when I perform it live now, I'm able to apply what I've learned since I wrote it. And, you know, I'm able to tell people like, well, when I first, you know, released this song, this is what I thought. And now, as a forever student, you know, I realized like, this is actually how I would say it, or how we would pronounce it. And it's been a beautiful, beautiful journey because it keeps me open to constructive criticism, you know, which we all always need, no matter what area of life. um, it keeps me open to like trying new things and taking risks, taking healthy risks, um, and just like learning beside other people, and also knowing like we're not always ever gonna know it all, but we can always keep learning more. And I think that's been like a really beautiful part of the process for this song, and it's definitely encouraged me to start normalizing it. Like I've already put more Lashutsi lyrics in my last song, so it's like now I want to do English and Lashutsi. And I want to, again, like we've always done, okay, how do we use song to encourage people to learn, to make it more accessible, you know? And the call and response has been like a really cool part of it, because I can perform for events with people who are not Suquamish, who are not Coast Salish, and they're learning to say we are strong in Lashutsi. And then I learned how to say we are strong in Chochenyo, which is the Lashan language of the East Bay and in Oakland, the village of Huchin. And so when we're in the Bay Area, I'm like, okay, what are the languages here, right? Chochenyo, Amamutsin, Ramai Tush. And as a language student, I'm like, wow, like we can all be learning so many languages, the ones that are still, you know, spoken. And it's just been like, it's just opened a lot of doors for me in always becoming a better student and finding creative ways to like teach other people or learn beside other people. So I really appreciate you for asking that question, because I have learned a lot since then.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that. I feel like you know, we've kind of brought up the video a couple times now, and I'm wondering if it's okay with you if I share it so we can all, you know, context for everyone who's watching right now. It's such a powerful video, and it really ties into the next question too,
And
which is
Whitney,
why is this? Yes, yes.
So are these earrings?
Yeah, it ties into the next question too, just in relation to the work that both of you are doing, and you know the importance that it has for community. So I'll go ahead and share the video because it's so powerful, and I loved it. When I watched it, I was just chills, and yeah, so beautiful. So I'll go ahead and share it with you all. Let's see, can everyone see Calina's hands? Yes. Okay.
Chalap, as walach chal, as chalap, as walach chal, as chalap, as walach chal, as walach chal, liu walach chal. As chalap, as walach. Us hate chalap. Us hate chalap. Us walach chat. Us walach chat. Lu walach chat. Hood yafti quo. Yafti swatuftan. Adlo just jadar chat. But had up oak achtest asap. Pats asap pat olel. But had up oak achtest asap. Pats asap pat olel. Twill shoot it as hali. Twill shoot it as hali. As hali ti. Twill shoot it as hali. Us hate chalap. Us hate chalap. Us hate chalap. Us walach chat. Us walach chat. Lu walach chat. Us hate chalap. Us hate chalap. Us hate chalap. Us walach chat. Us walach chat. Lu walach chat. Kwaf walek. Abalek, globe, slag hilch, ti doof suck web, told all chad doof suck web, hat ti slag hill, as hali chad, hat ti slag hill, buck ti sia, yeah, hat ti slag hill, I see stel boof chest, guadza da, twirl shoots, eat us hali, ti twirl shoots, eat us hali, us hate chalap. Us hate chalap. Us hate chalap. Us walach chat. Us walach chat. Lu walach chat. Us hate chalap. Us hate chalap. Us hate chalap. Us walach chat. Us walach chat. Lu walach chat.
So beautiful. It's such a powerful, powerful song, and just to see also the welcoming of the community in that video, and Whitney and your daughter, and it's so powerful, and a perfect segue into the next question. Why is this work important to you and for your community?
Well, it's for a lot of reasons. Even now I'm like emotional. Like that video has been out for a while now, but like it still makes me cry. And part of that is because like I literally have cried at every step of the process. And it's such a like honor to be a part of something this special, and to recognize like all the people that it took to make it possible. Like it was not just me by any means. There, like it would not be what it is without community. And I think that teaching is like, it just goes so much deeper for us. That I think has been one part of my journey as a professional musician, has been like going from communal musics to like solo, right? Like a singular vocal song is like a little hard because I'm just always with a whole like mob of people. Like that's how we jam. Like we just have 40, 50, 60, 100 people like all jamming. And so with that song, to be able to include everyone's voices from home, young people from 2 years old all the way up to our elders were part of that. and we're all singing in this language that this country has tried so hard to strip from us. You know, just kind of sums up again, like our resiliency. We're resilient when we shouldn't have to be, but I think it's important to recognize like our strength and our ability to adapt and to push forward and keep the future in mind. We're like healing from the past, but we're always, for the most part, like focused on what's to come and who will it be for and why. So this work for me is important because it reminds me of the community that I come from. It reminds me of the talent, the talent that our people have, and the like intention behind everything we bring to life. I mean, I can't remember where I saw this quote, but it really was about, you know, for as much destruction that's happening that we see, we have to create twice as much. We have to create more than we destroy. And I wish I remember who or where I saw those words and that idea come from, but it's so true right now. We're watching too many things and beings and life cycles and humans be destroyed all around us. And I think that's also why I love Wit so much, is because like she recognizes like we need love to go into this creative process, to this product that we're bringing to life. And we've always done that. We're going to keep doing that. But I also I know we're cutting down time really quick, but I just like keep coming back to this idea of having healthy outlets to express ourselves. And that is what this artwork is doing for us. You know, we're not holding it in. We're not sweeping it under the rug. And by it, I mean, you know, our emotions, our trauma, our grief, our shortcomings, or whatever those may be for us, we're embracing them and including them in our humanity and our artwork. So for me to have a healthy and helpful way to process life as it happens is like important, and hopefully it can also give some context to other people who are trying to figure it out.
Thank you. And what about for you, Whitney? Why is this work important to you and you know, for your community? Just even seeing you in the video too with the earrings that I'm sure you made. And were so beautiful. And those, you know, that Calina is wearing too. And yeah, why is this work important to you and for your community?
This work is it's important to me because this is just part of who I am. And I was just always taught that this is what our people do. And because it is a healing way for us, it's moving meditation, basically. It gives us, you know, the healthy outlet that Calina said, that she was saying, for us to move forward and help us let go of a lot of the things that we're working through in life. And it's important for me because I this is what I want for my daughter as well. I want her to be able to have the tools to be able to process whatever life throws at her and have the tools to be able to survive. Like I'm learning how to, you know, provide for my family by being able to sell or trade for money or goods. And I've recently learned how to sew, and I'm learning how to make clothes. And so like that, these things, learning how to make things and make art, not just art, but like learning how to make things like clothing and like tools, like it really helps me feel like I can survive no matter what happens. So that's just kind of how I feel like it's important to me. And you know, with basketry, it's one of those art forms that, you know, not a lot of people do anymore. And it's I don't know how to explain it. It's very important for us to hold on to it and keep it alive the best way that we can. And because it comes the like the cedar bark comes from the cedar trees, and we gather it ourselves. We learn how to use those materials, and it's medicine in itself, even touching the tree. So in all words, in a whole like summary, like it's healing. And that's what we need, is to be able to heal ourselves from all the stuff that we go through. That's why it's important to me. And yes, in that video, I was wearing earrings that I made out of cedar and abalone shells, and those earrings that Kalina's wearing right now, and in the video I made for that video and gifted them to her there. And yeah, I love that she loves them so much. So yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So we will be transitioning into the Q&A portion of it. So I have a couple more questions, but you know, while we kind of wrap up that portion, if you all have any questions, feel free to go ahead and type them again, either in the chat, or you can use the Q&A feature. I have both open right now, so feel free to go ahead and type those in. So we did have one question that that came in. What does it mean for you when you are engaged in your respective art in terms of connection and connecting?
I would say in relation to music, it's been a very crucial part of every process. Every song has a different way that it came to be, but a lot of it had to do with who I collaborated with, or how I was connected to who I collaborated with, and what brought us together. You know, what was the goal that this team of people had to produce this song, to produce the music video. And it really kind of goes to show like just the importance of creating art for ourselves, and also creating art for those who are going to receive it. And, you know, we learned so much about how to work with others, you know, how everybody can bring like their talent forward. And for the most part in creative spaces, like how do we honor every voice, every idea? So it really teaches like some very like basic interpersonal communication and connecting skills. But also, especially with like the song that you all heard with the language, I don't live home. I've lived here in Ohlone territory in the Bay Area for 6 going on 7 years now. And what I really appreciate about that particular song is like I can still feel connected to home just listening to it. And I could just pull up the music video and be like, I'm a Suquamish, so let me go like, watch this video that we shot at home. And so speaking of connection in that sense, music has really helped me stay connected to home, even though I'm not physically there. And it goes for Coast Salish music too, like transitioning to technology through quarantine. And even before that, you can go on YouTube and type in tribal canoe journeys and listen to Coast Salish music all day long. So many cultures have our musics in a virtual setting now. So it's not okay, I guess, to kind of skate on like powwow music as like this pan native like idea. Like we're all able to represent our different cultures and musics and stuff online now. And that's really, it's dope for people like me who are who have, migrated elsewhere. And then it's dope for people who maybe aren't connected or don't know about certain cultures, and we can just like pull up a song or pull up YouTube or, so that's a great question. Thank you.
Thank you. So another question that came up was, where can we find Whitney Lewis's beadwork? So I'm going to go ahead and put in the chat so you all are able to see it. I'm going to paste in her website and then also Calina's website. So that should take you right to Whit's shop. So, support these artists afterwards. So let's see. Next question, how do you both feel when you see young folks in the community take interest in your respective art? So whether that be music or, Whitney, you had even shared with your daughter, right? Starting to beat and all that. Like, how do you feel when you see that?
I get excited. I get excited when I see a lot of the tribal members out in my community at the youth center working with Cedar. I get so excited because it's awesome. That means that the work that we're doing is working and that they're showing interest in it and wanting to help keep it alive. Yeah. I've been really trying to teach my sister. She's 14, and teenagers are stubborn. So whenever she actually says like, yeah, I want to make a necklace, I'm just like, really? I get really excited when I know that the kids want to actually take part in making art or are interested and want to express that part of themselves.
Yeah, I definitely, the excitement is like, and there's also just like this element that's like beyond English words. What I get often is parents will send me videos of their little ones like singing word for word every song, like after the song came out in the Shoot Seed or Don't Count Me Out or Generations, like parents will send videos and their from start to finish, the kids know every word. And like, I just cry. I'm watching this like, holy cow, like, oh my God. Because there's not very many words it's just like this emotion, it's like overwhelming emotion. And the sense of like confidence and pride that they have, like, it's that really interesting kind of recognition, right? Like me and Whitney talk about like being intentional. This is what we put, like a lot of what I do is for the youth, like whether they know it or not. Like I wrote this song for young people, and then it's like they just know it's for them, like it's theirs. And that's the energy they put out when folks send me videos. And there are no words for that. And I was also thinking, as you were asking that question, like my nephew, it's his birthday today. He's turning 12, and a few months back, he was like, "Hey, Auntie, can I show you something?" And I'm like, "Sure. What is it?" And he's like, "I produced a couple beats. Do you want them? Like, do you want to write to them? Do you want to make a song out of them?" This is 11-year-old at the time, like 11-year-old music producer, like on his cell phone on the res in Suquamish. He's like, "Yo, Auntie, I got you. Like, I got beats for you." And he sent them to me, and I was like, "Yo, like, these are nice." Like, actually, yeah, you're trying to produce my whole next album for me, and so it's really, really cool that he has, the technology now, but he's also thinking about it. And then he told me, I was really scared to send him to you because I didn't know if you're gonna like him or not. And he's thinking about it, right? Like, he's tapping into his creative energy at 11 to like produce music. Like, I'm 27, and I was 26 when I produced that. Like, this he's starting so much younger than me. And the dopest part about it is, that like whatever navigated him toward that interest, he's like, "Okay, I know my auntie does music. Like, let me see if she's trying to hop on the beat." Like, that is so dope for him to have that thought process at that age. And those are the moments, where like Whit and I, when we started tonight, we told you, like, we watched people around us at a young age doing this, and our proximity to them is what like helped guide our passion and our interest. And so to now become those aunties and those, people who these young ones are watching do, like, that's a big responsibility, but like it really it's like the reward for trying, for doing this. So whew.
Beautiful reflections. Thank you. So another question that came in: what are some honest challenges for you in sharing your art with others? So for both of you, what are some honest challenges?
Honest challenges. I think for me, I don't know. I sometimes get too critical about what I'm saying or how I'm saying it or what I'm talking about. And I think that that's something that I've learned. I'm still learning. I just saw someone's words in the chat briefly about this word eager. And like when I first started with music, I was so eager to say all these things. I was like in a big, huge rush to say it all. Like, I have so much to say, and you just need to say it, and I even still kind of have that where I'm still finding my like sense of patience, and like and quarantine has helped with this. It's helped me kind of slow down and be very very like what would the word be? I just like find a good rhythm to say what it is I'm trying to say. And I don't really necessarily mean like make sure I'm like in rhythm with the song. I just mean like how am I presenting this, right? How am I delivering in a specific song? And that's been a real challenge for me, is to kind of like just like trust myself, trust in time, not rush too much, because there's like this really interesting balance with music. Like, you want to take your time, get it right, but you don't want to hold on to it so long that like you're hoarding it from the world. And I'm trying to find that balance. So that's been it for me. And then within quarantine, like when this first started, I could not make any new music at all. I was just like trying to fathom this huge change and shift and transition. I was like, couldn't even. And then with George Floyd's murder and everything that was happening, it was just like, okay, like, I don't need to be making music right now. Like, I need to be listening. I need to be learning. I need to be offering space. And I also am trying to process like this very traumatic thing we're all going through together. So I still really haven't been able to find that rhythm again. But I'm like, okay, there's time. We've got time, you know, I'm not in a rush. So here we are.
The most difficult thing right now that I'm going through is grief. We've lost a couple of people in the last few years, and I never really experienced that as until just recently, and so I'm trying to figure out how to work through that, and it's difficult because I like, that's not something I want to share with my whole following. You know, I don't want to be like, oh, I'm going through this, so don't expect anything. I'm really trying my best to work through it, and try not to be so hard on myself for not get done right away that I want to get done. And I mean, the list of ideas that I have for when it comes to creating something, like, it's never ending. There's always something new that I want to do and try. Like, I've been recently working with clay because it's you know, it's fun to do, and sewing. So like, I want to make a million skirts, and I want to make a bit different crystal pendants, and I want to do all the beadwork, but it's honestly hard because I can't keep up with myself. And then on top of dealing with the grief, it's also just been like just difficult because I just don't know how to navigate through it the majority of the time. So that's what I'm learning right now. And another thing that's difficult is, like, I feel like I don't have enough to share with everybody. And Calina is always telling me, like, you share enough, like, you make enough. You don't need to have a million hands to make all these things. That they're special because, you know, this is one pair that was handmade by you, not because there's a bunch of them to be able to give out. But I wish I could make a bunch of them and be able to give a lot more people more of my work. I just haven't found that rhythm. And yeah, Calina, like, I can feel that, like, not being able to find that rhythm right now in my work because it's so new and off, and with the pandemic and having my daughter home when everything first shut down, and just how scary the world is. It's been pretty hard to get through through all of it. But also my art has helped me through that.
So many, you know, it's definitely been you know, something that has been shared with many artists in various different forms of art, where they've kind of shared that during this time specifically has been a challenge to bring about, like, particular creativity, you know. Yeah, and also just so thankful that it's present for us as a release, you know, in those different ways. So thank you for saying that, Whitney. I appreciate it. So we are nearing the end of our time. So I do have one more question that we can close out with. And everyone who's here listening, if you could please type in some affirmations in the chat. So just some loving words for Calina and for Whitney for joining us today. We've had some throughout the session that I'll read out. So yeah, just any last minute affirmations that you would like to give to them, please go ahead and share. And the last question I want to ask both of you Maybe we can start with Whitney. And what advice or loving words would you like to share to our youth?
This question really makes me think of my sister and what I would tell her to do. She's 14 and super like stubborn and headstrong, and is always wanting to be on her phone, and is consumed by social media and wanting to be on it. And the advice that I am always giving her is to, if you're gonna do it, if you're gonna be on social media, if you're going to use it as much as you do, learn how to use it as a tool, to, you know, figure out what you're gonna do with your future. Also, like, don't worry too much about how people see you, and, you know, find a hobby other than that, because it's bad being on your phone for that long. I'm always encouraging my sister and the younger kids to find something that they like to do with their hands, whether it's like any kind of healthy outlet, you know, to bead, to weave, to go work out, you know, like, find something that isn't just going to consume you in social ways. You need to be able to find things that you can do by yourself to find out, like, who you are and what you're going to do in life, because, so, you know, you're going to grow up eventually, and you're not going to know where to start, but this is where I would start if I were you, type of thing. So
I keep seeing this quote, man. I see all kinds of quotes on social media, I'm not gonna lie, but it's something along the line, and here I do like paraphrasing, but it's like, speak even when your voice shakes, you know, keep speaking. And that's something that I was like, yo, I remember being a young person and knowing that I wanted to say something, and I knew that I had like a thought or an idea or a response that I really wanted to say. And I either just like stayed quiet, or I was so nervous, but I like somehow got it out, you know? And that is something that I feel like I had to cultivate myself, to advocate for myself, because we find oftentimes people want to do the opposite of advocate for young people. And that's the type of colonial society we live in. So my advice to young people would just be to keep speaking up, keep sharing your ideas, to not be afraid of using your voice, and not be afraid of challenging those who try to silence you.
Thank you. Beautiful closing words. Some affirmations for you both before, you know, we close out. Thank you for sharing your experience about learning more in your language, and for encouraging us all to connect with our Indigenous languages. It's so great to hear that you both are eager, for to support young folks. What love that is, to encourage and give energy to them. Thank you so much for sharing all of your work and your love. Thank you for sharing your talent, your personal experiences and struggles with us. Thank you to your candid thoughts and on the sources of your art and motivation to create, and what it means in your life and how it gives you strength. I love the energy between you. So encouraging to hear your advice to other creators or those thinking of creating. Thank you for sharing your process for each. Thank you for sharing your humanity, either the ecosystem or grief as well. Great advice to share with my own teenager. Thank you. And thank you both for your work in resilience and empowerment. Thank you. Thank you so much, Whitney and Calina, for joining us tonight. Such an honor to share space with both of you. Everybody hit up Whitney's website. Everybody hit up Calina's website, and just check out the beautiful art that they create in their respective areas. And thank you again for joining us this evening. So this was the 4th week of Red Dress Special. Next week is our last week of Red Dress Special, Native American Heritage Month Virtual Speaker Series. Next week we'll be having a session titled Hands That Heal, where we'll be welcoming traditional Indigenous birth workers, and we'll just talk a little bit about their process and connecting that traditional birthing practices to healing work for our communities. So again, thank you, Calina. Thank you, Whitney. Thank you, everyone who's joining us, and we will see you next week.
Thank you, Miriam. You did an amazing job tonight.
Oh, thank
So
you.
grateful to you and IHC. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you both. Okay.
Thank you.
We'll see you
This
all
is my
next
first time ever doing anything like this, so thank
you.
Thank you for
Whitney, you did amazing. Okay. All right, everybody. We will see you all next week, hopefully. Bye.